All right, welcome everybody to the Encinitas Chamber of Commerce webinar kind of series, and this is all about touchless payments, which I think everybody here can relate to and understand the importance. The Encinitas Chamber is really dedicated to assisting and helping the business community, especially through kind of this COVID-19 and pandemic challenges, which many have arisen since this thing started. We've been fortunate enough to have some members step up and provide valuable information and resources and tools to help the businesses. So if you're interested in joining the Chamber of Commerce, I'll go ahead and put something in the chat of a link to join. But I would like to get out of the way and let the main speakers here join us. I'd like to introduce Josiah. He is from Axia Payments. He's a proud Encinitas Chamber member here, and he and his co-worker Michael have a great presentation on touchless payments. So I will step out and let you guys take over.
Great, thank you so much. Josiah, if you want to go ahead and just kick it off and tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks Alex. I appreciate the introduction. I just became a member of the Chamber, actually just recently. We've been doing the merchant services for the Chamber of Commerce for a handful of years now. So it just seemed right to host a webinar on contactless payments for the chamber that we do the merchant services for. So I'm local. I'm in Carlsbad, right here off of El Camino Real and Aviara. I moved to this area in June of last year. Just was a transplant from Long Beach, California. My wife and I live here. We have our little pup that we live with too. She's 10 years old. She's just the best. But anyways, gosh, I'm saying a lot. Sorry, I'm not used to doing these webinars. So I've partnered with quite a few businesses along PCH and also a couple different nurseries just here in Encinitas. So it's been a fun, just hate to say it's been fun, but it's been, with COVID happening, people are actually looking at all the money coming out of their bank accounts and where they're spending, and any area that they can cut costs has been crucial. So I've been able to really step in and provide transparency and provide incredible service. I do take a lot of pride in just coming alongside merchants and exceeding their expectations for what service should look like. So that's it. I'm going to pass it off to you, Michael. We've got a really great presentation, so I hope you guys enjoy. And if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I've got the chat open so I can see any questions that come in. So.
All right, thanks, Josiah. Let me go ahead and get this started. And let's see here. All right, great. Hello, everybody. Again, I'm Michael Zuckerman. I am with Axia Payments. I am just up the freeway from you guys. I'm out of Santa Barbara, California. Josiah is your local representation down there in Encinitas. We're really excited to come and talk to you today a little bit about contactless or touchless. I think that those two terms have been thrown around a lot. I know when watching TV these days, I don't think you can watch a commercial without it talking about contactless or touchless payments. So we thought it was really important. I've done about a half a dozen of these webinars talking to chambers of commerce, bank partners, and other partners that we have out there about exactly that. And so today we will go over some high level, what is contactless payments, customer preferences. We'll go through and talk about the security, what is a contactless payments, and then get into some specifics as to, how can you utilize it and implement that out in your specific place of business. So let me go ahead and jump in. Let's start with the first slide. And, I think that just before we started this webinar, we talked a little bit about the fact that cash isn't something that you see around too often anymore. And I think it's something that consumers as a whole have really been slow to adopt the contactless payments. But with COVID-19, that's really been the tipping point for the digital transaction acceptance. According to MasterCard survey, more than half of U.S. shoppers are now using some form of contactless payment, and cash is continuing to be less and less utilized. The survey also showed that consumers are mostly using contactless cards for buying essentials at grocery stores at 85%, pharmacies 39%, retail stores 38%, quick service or fast food restaurants 36%, and then any other forms of transit as well. So I think as this pandemic has continued to go on, we've seen more and more of that rise. And so, you know, it's rare these days to walk into a retail store, a restaurant, mom and pop shops that are cash only. And I think that that was more and more prevalent in the past. All right, let's move on to the next slide here, guys. Addressing the customer payment preferences, right? I think we've all heard this over and over. What is the new normal? What does that look like? You know, is this something that is going to be going on forever? I don't think so. I hope not. I hope that the new norm, we find some sort of a balance in there. But it's definitely changed the way in which shoppers are buying. I think many of you have noticed, or maybe in your stores themselves or businesses, you know, there's plexiglass up, there's, you know, tape going in different directions of where to stand, what you can do, where you're waiting, things like that. So it's really important now. In addition to that, I think we all are very much aware of the cleanliness, right? And not just the cleanliness of a retail store, or a shop, or whatever it might be, but also those touch pads, right? The places in which you're actually paying. So either you're sliding your card, dipping it, entering in your pen pad, or holding your phone over it. No matter whether you're touching it or not, I think we're all very, very aware and paying very close attention to the cleanliness out there. So something that in the past was important, but I think that it's become even more heightened as time goes on. So many of our merchants, you know, have come to us and said, are we contactless? Do we have the capability of taking contactless payments? And so I think most, if not, I wouldn't say all, but most of our merchants had the capability, but didn't know how to utilize it, didn't know how to turn it on, didn't know how to use the features and functionalities to ensure that, you know, they could accept Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, any of the other options that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Obviously, you know, it could be costly and disruptive if you didn't have those things, because I think that, you know, as it becomes more and more prevalent to have those sorts of things, you know, there's a cost associated with you. You know, that could either be a hard cost of having to buy new software, which quite frankly, it's not that expensive. There are some really, really good technology solutions out there. But where the cost comes in is if you don't offer that, the loss of potential merchants or customers out there. So, you know, you've got to look at it from a balanced proposition there. Moving on to the next slide, what are contactless payments? So I think what's interesting is we've done this quite a few times and had folks just pull their wallets out and take a look at their cards to see whether or not they actually have a card that is contactless. I don't. I know that I think that I had 15 sales reps on a call one day, and only one person actually had a contactless card. And contactless card means that it actually has an RFID or NFC signal in there. So it'll allow you to use your card. And we're not talking about Apple Pay or any of those payment types. Josiah, do you have one? You do. So you see the little symbol there, which is the contactless symbol. That's something that we'll start to see more and more of. I know that I got an email the other day from some of my card brands talking about sending out new cards with that feature and functionality on there. So look out for that. Other ways to pay outside of just the credit or debit cards with that RFID signal. You know, Apple Pay, which is the most prevalent, the one that you've heard about the most, the one that people talk about the most. but there's Samsung Pay, Google Pay, Fitbit Pay, and then most banks have their own mobile applications of some sort. So you will find that these are all app-based. These are things that are really, really important out there. I think that it's important now. People are really carrying their cell phones to go places, right? Before it used to be, I need to make sure I have my wallet before I go somewhere. Now it's, you've got your phone, right? So that phone has become more and more important in the industry to be able to pay. It's got everything that you need on it. So something to think about out there, and ensuring that your hardware can accept those types of payments is really, really important as well. Touchless payments. So you had contactless, this is touchless, right? So these terms are, used interchangeably. You hear them different. Even us here in the industry, we will sometimes misplace one for the other. But touchless itself is truly, there's virtual terminals, online ordering, text to pay, which I think some of us have started to see more and more of. I think during COVID, I took my car in for a service, and after I was done, there was a text to pay. I got the link, I clicked on it, I made the payments. I didn't have to sign a piece of paper, hand over my debit card or credit card, have them handle it, and all those types of things. So that's definitely becoming something very important out there. And then remote invoicing. So for a lot of firms, and I'll say professional services, CPA firms, lawyers, doctors' offices, anyone in the industry that were accepting a lot of checks, remote invoicing has really become the future for them. If you're able to send out an email with that invoice with a pay now button, that will allow folks to pay without you sending out an invoice, them turning around and mailing it back to you. So there's a delay in time in there as well. And then you getting it and then having to take it to the bank and handle all of that, because there's health concerns and things like that as far as handling. So remote invoicing is starting to become very popular as well for anyone that was taking a lot of check payments in the past. Again, benefits of contactless payments. I talked a little bit about the health, and that's not only the health of your customers, but it's yourself as the business owners, and then also your employees. I think it's always important. Something that we do here at Axia, we do temperature checks, we do all kinds of different things that pre-COVID you never would have expected, but health is very, very important, and the reasons for having all of this out there. Security, I'll get into the security, and contactless payments is the most secure way in which you can handle transactions with financials, and effortless. I think, when we think of effortless, having only your phone or having something like that is so much easier. I think in the past you saw a lot of places where they'd have a terminal sitting in front of them as the merchant, handing that terminal over and having them slide it, or better yet, getting the card from the customer, taking it, sliding it for them, handing it back to them, giving them the receipt, having them sign the receipt. Those things are all kind of gone away, which plays into the efficiency. So back to the remote invoicing from an efficiency standpoint, again, think about what it took before to send out invoices. You'd have to, 1, create it, 2, print it, stuff the envelope, take it to the post office, wait for then the customer to open that, stuff the envelope again. That is, if you provided a return envelope, get it back, take it to the bank. So there's so many steps involved in that transaction that's just not really efficient from a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, and again, really important right now from a customer perspective. So I just talked a little bit about the security. Contactless cards are used about the same technology as the EMV chip, and I think we all know what that EMV chip, that's when you're dipping it. And I think Josiah will probably show you what the EMV chip actually is on a card, potentially. He's looking through right now. Contactless transactions do not pass information such as CVV, billing, address, and zip code. So very secure. You don't have all of your information out there. So that is an important fact. And every contactless transaction utilizes a one-time code that helps prevent fraud. So each transaction using a random tokenization that can't be used again increases that security, and very, very important in today's environment. Lastly, contactless card experience among the lowest fraud rates of any type of payment. Thumbprint, Face ID verification, things like that probably are the highest. Moving on, how to use contactless. I think this will be really quick because we've all been in this COVID environment and probably have all done this by now. But I'll be the first to raise my hand and say that pre-COVID, I never used Apple Pay, mobile, any type of the mobile payments. I was always pulling out my card and either handing it over. So again, this is something, devices these days are set up and they will prompt you to pay. If you're at a coffee shop, a lot of times they've got a little terminal and the lights will turn on. That's when you actually will present with your phone or with a contactless symbol card that needs to be within a couple of inches of the actual terminal. Doesn't need to touch it, and it will actually take that payment right then and there. And you'll see immediately a reader will indicate the successful payment. So it's very simple. Again, I was one of those that never did it. I believed in using my card, and it was the most secure. And I'm in this industry, so I was one that was holding back and not buying into the whole contactless. But since COVID, that has all changed. All right, so at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Josiah, who is going to go through some more specifics, actual hardware, text to pay, some of the specifics that we just went on a high level about. He's going to get into more of the weeds on it. So Josiah, let me kick it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. Hey, I want to just see if anyone has any questions thus far. I think everybody's muted, so you'd have to type them out in the chat. But if you do have questions, I'm looking at the chat too, so feel free to throw them in there. After the call's over too, we'll give some time for some questions, and then also you'll have my contact info and Michael's. So if anything comes up, plus I'm local, headed into the chamber actually shortly after this to meet with Sherry and Stephanie. So cool. Next slide, Michael. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through these kind of quickly. If you're in a specific industry and want to know specifics for your industry, definitely reach out to me and I can come in and meet with you, and of course wear a mask and stay 6 feet away. But I definitely would love to come in and see kind of what industry you're in, and also kind of let you in on the amazing technology that we have as a company. So here we have two different terminals here that one on the right has a pin pad as well. So you'll probably see this in a liquor store environment where you have the one terminal facing the the pin pad facing the customer and the terminal facing the merchant. I just installed one of these this morning at Cordova Gardens in Encinitas. So the employees at Cordova Gardens would type in the amount they want to charge, and then you as a customer see the pin pad, and that's where Michael mentioned these devices would do Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, all the contactless pays. So you would just hover your device near the pin pad, and it would start processing the transaction securely. So that's going to be the most common, most basic, straightforward way to start accepting Apple Pay if you don't already. So I'll have you go to the next slide, Michael. So this device, you guys have probably all seen this device, this white device. It's called Clover Mini. I also just partnered with a little market this morning in Carlsbad, and they're at the end of their lease for this device. So they're going to switch to me, and they're getting this device and a couple other devices from Clover. But this is an incredible device for quite a few different industries. It does offline transactions. So if you have a business that has difficult internet connection, This is a great device for that because it can run offline transactions. It also does all the contactless payments. So you're noticing someone holding their phone kind of close to the terminal. That's processing in, it looks like an Apple Pay transaction. These devices you'll see quite a bit in restaurants and retail. What was I gonna say about this device? So yeah, you'll notice that you don't have to touch the device. So obviously this is contactless, touchless payments. You don't have to physically touch it. You just have to get kind of close. So if you've had difficulties in the past, I was telling, it's funny, over the weekend, my wife went to use Apple Pay for the first time, and she's over here, has no idea how to do it. And I had to kind of walk her through how to successfully do a transaction with Apple Pay. But it was kind of nice because she didn't have her wallet with her. So she actually used Apple Pay for the first time because her wallet was at home and she has Apple Pay. So for me too, prior to COVID, I didn't actually set up any of the contactless, but what's nice about all the contactless options is depending on how many cards you have. I have so many cards, from debit cards to, different rewards cards and things. So I actually utilize Apple Pay because I don't want to have so many cards in my wallet. So definitely something to think about. I was skeptical at first, but now it makes sense why Apple Pay and all these different contactless pays are so I guess you could say trendy, but it's just kind of where we're at as a country. So we're kind of behind the mark too. I know that other countries have been way ahead of us with this stuff. So we're just as the states, we're just now getting on board, which is nice to see. Next slide, Michael. Oh, this is a huge one. So online ordering, actually at the beginning of COVID, there was about a 3-week time frame where business owners did not want to talk to any sales rep, and I don't blame them because of the uncharted waters we were going through. So I actually just set all sales aside as a rep, and I just started going into businesses offering assistance to help set up online ordering. And it was great. I set up over 20 different local businesses with online ordering. All of this, I volunteered my time and was able to really see some revenue made by these businesses from online ordering setup. So my previous job about 5 years ago was with a delivery service called Postmates. You guys have probably all heard of Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates. So I have kind of a passion for helping businesses when it comes to this type of this topic. And so that was kind of where also my reasoning was coming from too, was like, I know so much about online ordering that I wanted to help businesses save money in that sense as well, because restaurant owners have to pay upwards of 20 to 30% to run orders through Grubhub and Postmates and DoorDash. Whereas through this system that we have, that we can integrate into a restaurant, they're not paying a percentage, they're just having to pay the interchange on a credit card. So if you happen to have a local restaurant that's your favorite and they don't have online ordering set up, let me know. I would love to go in and talk to them and help them set it up. It's definitely a game changer, to say the least. Next slide, Michael. Oh, text to pay. Yeah, like you said, Michael, this is actually a really great, this is just awesome for chiropractors and medical offices, car dealerships. It seems crazy that we are getting to a point where everything's kind of text and not even emails, because you think about it, like email, you could pay an invoice through an email for the last who knows how many years, but now it's getting to a point where we get text messages and we can pay our balance at a different business through that. So it's I have a cousin who owns a chiropractic office, and this is incredible. This is a total game changer for her and her business. It's going to increase cash flow. It's going to obviously reduce the amount of contact between the patient and the merchant. But it also is a texting platform too. So not just text to pay. It's actually a platform that a business can utilize to text their patient. So for instance, the dentist, I go over here to a dentist in Carlsbad, and obviously, getting updates, they send me a text letting me know when my appointment is and all that. But what's interesting is the text that I get from this dentist comes from a a number that's totally out of state. And so what's nice about this solution is it actually, the number would come, it's a specific number for your business that's the same area code as your actual business phone number. So it's a great solution, but I'll move on from that. Any questions so far? It doesn't look like there's any in the chat. Hopefully I'm not just talking nonsense over here. All right, Michael, next slide. Oh, this one's actually my favorite. So obviously most of us down here along the coast just have an incredible ocean breeze that we can experience while we're outside at Vigalucci's or a restaurant along the coast. And so what's nice about this this technology is, okay, so yesterday I was at a restaurant in Long Beach and I didn't bring my wallet in because I was like, oh, I've got Apple Pay, I'm cool. But what I realized is not every restaurant has a QR code set up, because when you're at a full service restaurant, you can't necessarily go over to the terminal or the POS system and like use Apple Pay. So this QR code is incredible because it allows Apple Pay to be used in a full service restaurant. So you can be dining with your friends and your family, and you can actually scan that QR code, just like we all know to pull up a menu nowadays at a restaurant, you use a QR code. And so the same technology, once you scan the QR code, it would pull up your ticket or your check, and then you have the option of paying it, tipping, and everything just like normal. So this allows you to give your card, and it's incredible. This is my favorite solution. We have a couple partnerships that have this technology, that have this capability. So again, back to the restaurants, if you happen to go to a restaurant that doesn't have this and you want them to have it, let me know. I can go in and hopefully can get in contact with the owners and talk to them about getting this set up. So, but again, that's honestly what I love. It's definitely the most exciting is the QR code. It doesn't require any hardware. It kind of requires some software, so not every system can do it, but yeah. Next slide, Michael. All right, this is also really big one right now. So our integration that we have here is called Bill and Pay, and it's an integration for invoicing, or it's a solution for invoicing that actually integrates with QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is definitely the #1 invoicing product out there, and so we are one of the few companies that have an integration that actually syncs up with QuickBooks on a hourly basis, and it allows clients to actually send the invoice and do everything as they normally did, but it actually allows them to pay it through our product called Bill and Pay. And the example would be, QuickBooks charges upwards of 3 to 4% to process credit cards through QuickBooks, whereas our system is set up on an interchange pricing. So Earth Elements, which is a local Encinitas, I was able to, sorry, my Bluetooth just went out on me. So looks like I'm going to use my speakers. Earth Elements is a local company to you guys, and their wholesale side of the business was using QuickBooks. And after a month of processing with us, I was able to lower their percentage by 1.5% by using Bill and Pay. So that's saved him $600, essentially close to $600 in 1 month by essentially just technology solutions. So that's a big one right now is invoicing. Next slide, Michael. Virtual terminals. This is also, I love the virtual terminals because it doesn't require any hardware, and it allows a business to have just a custom solution, I guess you could say, because it allows reoccurring payments. It allows pre-authorizations. It allows you to charge a credit card without the card being present. So the Chamber of Commerce in Encinitas uses a virtual terminal called authorize.net, I believe. There's also one called USAE Pay. There's quite a few virtual terminals, but we have our own virtual terminal that's called TransSafe, and it's, in my opinion, the best virtual terminal that's out there. It does
so much that other virtual terminals can't do and won't, and just don't have the capabilities of doing. So a virtual terminal is really meant for a card not present environment. So any business that doesn't physically have the card in front of them should be using a virtual terminal. So quite often I see merchants like on the phone and they're hand keying a card number into a physical terminal that they have. And you can do that, but it's definitely getting set up with a virtual terminal is definitely hands down the best solution. Encinitas Glass Company is local. I, back in January, was able to essentially take them from hand keying every transaction onto a terminal to using TransSafe, and all of their employees have access to TransSafe, so they don't have to actually leave their desk and get up and walk to the terminal. They can process the card through this virtual terminal, email the receipt, and they're good to go. So a lot more productivity happening here, and there's not a traffic jam at 4 o'clock in the afternoon trying to fight over the terminal. So a virtual, and actually our technology with TransSafe can save merchants quite a bit of money when it comes to business credit cards as well. So it's a huge perk as well. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Mobile solutions. In the last 4 months, I've got about 5 merchants that are set up with this Swipe Simple terminal on the left, the black one. It's an incredible Bluetooth solution. If I'm trying to compete personally with Square and I have a business using Square or needing a solution like a curbside solution, Swipe Simple is incredible. It actually has it can do invoicing as well on top of just mobile solution. So awesome for businesses that are doing curbside pickup or maybe deliveries. I have a business in Long Beach that just when the pandemic started, he needed a solution for his delivery drivers. So he's using Swipe Simple now for all of his drivers, and it's just an incredible solution. There's also Clover as well, but I prefer, if I were to, compare the two, I definitely push for Swipe Simple. Plus, it just looks better if you ask me. All right, I think this is close to the last slide, so I appreciate you guys listening to this, and hopefully we've learned a little bit. But we do have a toolkit that we're willing to actually send out. So if you're interested in getting some of these stickers and tabletops and some signs for your window, I have quite a bit of this at my house that I can bring you, but the table tents I don't have, so we can definitely bring you this toolkit in the coming weeks. So if this is something you're interested in, please let me know. Not too many businesses say no to cash. I know Better Buzz in Encinitas is actually saying no to cash, which is smart if you ask me. But we do have signs if there is a business that's just like, no, we're not actually taking cash. I know In-N-Out actually isn't taking cash now either, unless I think if it's exact change or exact amount. So. And I can also, I love to come in and educate too. I think one of the local jewelry stores in Carlsbad and Encinitas, I was able to actually partner with them because I was able to educate them on Apple Pay and whatnot just before Christmas season last year. So it's definitely, like Michael mentioned, it's important to actually be educated on how it works so that when you have that customer come up that doesn't know how to use it, you can actually walk them through how it works. I mean, my wife would have needed that if I wasn't with her that day. She was like about to throw the phone at the terminal. So anyways, I think that's it. Is there any other slides, Michael? Oh, okay. Gosh, what do we have here? I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, so I'll jump on this. So again, guys, I think to wrap up, we've got the last couple of slides. The consumer driven changes are happening, extremely fast right now. But I think they're probably moving as slow as they'll ever be. So you'll see these consumer driven changes increase in speed. It's something that as business owners, always staying in front and staying on the cutting edge is really important. And making sure that it's a customer friendly environment is really important. I'm sure many of you have already gone through and done the plexiglass if it makes sense, and in redesigning the floor plan to ensure that you're social distancing, cleaning, offering hand sanitation locations throughout your businesses. So all these things are really important. And then we'll just finish up with the last couple of slides of the do's and don'ts of cleaning terminals. And so the do's, very simple, again, using microfiber cleaning cloth or towel, spraying the cleaner on the towel itself. So spray it on there, and we'll get to the next slide. Make sure you're not taking that spray and spraying the terminal itself. This is technology. There's a lot of pieces going to that cannot get wet. And then, clean with a cloth or towel that is damp, but not soaked and dripping wet, right? And if there is something wrong, please reach out to somebody that's a professional on it. Opening up the terminals and trying to work on them yourself is not something that I would advise. And going to the don'ts, spraying the actual equipment anytime you're getting technology wet, that's not a great thing. Abrasive cleaners, powders, things like that, that's going to damage. It's going to probably dull the screen itself. And again, getting the electronics wet is not good. And I think we talked about that 3 times in two screens there. So that's it from the do's and don'ts on cleaning the terminals. The last page we have here is just Josiah's contact information, because he is your local rep there, and also a board member there at a member of the Encinitas Chamber. So Josiah, any last closing words or any Q&A? You can always open it up.
Thanks, Michael. And again, appreciate all you guys, Andrew, David, and John, and a few others for being on here. I know Sherry's on here too. Any questions you have, we can stay on for a little longer. But you've got my email here, phone number if you want to give me a ring. That's my cell number. So I welcome any calls at almost any time of the day. I don't like to get calls at like 1 in the morning, but if need be, give me a ring and I'll call you in the morning. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I know it's actually been helpful for me, and just being in the payments industry, there's always great technology coming out. So some of these solutions are new, and even the QR code solution was discovered, or for me was discovered, probably I was with some colleagues at Islands actually in Long Beach for a convention. We went to Islands and they brought us our check, and there was the QR code to pay. So it was, we did it ourselves, and it's just a great way to close out your check, and the waitress appreciates it too, because then they don't have to come back and that weird, awkward, hey, here's your check. Here's your check. Please leave me a fat tip kind of environment. So yeah, looks like we don't have any questions. So I'll end it. Sherry, this is recorded. So if anyone wants a copy of it, I think if you registered, you'll get a copy that you're welcome to share with fellow business owners and friends. So thanks, Michael.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great week.